Okay, so this video we're looking at sort of two exam questions where we look at comparing simple interest against compound interest. So I've got two questions here. You can try the second one after the first one if you wish to. So yeah, two very typical questions comparing the two kinds of interest. And if you haven't looked at my videos on simple and compound interest and you need to revise them, I would definitely watch those, okay? Because it's going to be useful for this video. Anyway, the first question. So you can give it a go if you want to, or you can watch me go through both of them, or whatever you want to really. Right, question one is saying Jack has got £15,000 to invest in a savings account for 3 years. And he finds information about two savings accounts. So one of them has simple interest at 2.3% each year, and one is compound interest at 2.15% each year. And Jack wants to have as much money as possible in a saving account at the end of the 3 years. So which one of these should he go for? So it's just saying, right, if he invests £15,000, should he use the simple interest at 2.3% each year, or use compound interest at 2.15% each year? So let's begin by looking at the simple interest option. Okay, so this first one here. Well, with simple interest, you just find the percentage of your amount. So to find 2.3% of the amount, which is £15,000, well, I'm going to get 2.3% as a decimal. Well, remember, percent means per 100, so we're just doing here 2.3 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.023. Okay, that's 2.3 divided by 100. Okay, and of means you're timesing, so going to times that by your amount, which is £15,000. Okay, and that will give you the interest after 1 year, but with simple interest, you just times that by however many years you've got. Okay, you're not compounding it, so 0.023 times £15,000 is equal to £345. Right, so that is the interest you get after 1 year in the simple interest bank account. Right, but he's putting it in his account for 3 years, so it's just going to be 3 times that £345, okay, which is equal to £1,035. So Jack, he will gain £1,035 after 3 years in the simple interest account. So in total, from his starting point of £15,000, so in total, at the end of the 3 years, he's going to have £15,000, his initial amount, and you've got to add on that £1,035, right, which is equal to 15,000 1,035, which is £16,035. So £16,035. Okay, so let's make a note of that. Let's highlight it so we can see what's going on there. So that is simple interest after those 3 years. Right, but now we've got to compare it with this compound interest. So let's go and do the compound interest up here and see how much we get after 3 years there. So remember, compound interest is your initial amount, which is just that £15,000. You times it by your multiplier, okay, which we'll look at in a second. So your multiplier, and you raise that to the power of time. So how many years it is, which is just 3 years. Well, be a little bit careful. The multiplier is going to be times 1 point something. Right, 2.15% as a decimal. Right, if we want to show the working there, right, it's going to be 2.15%. Is per 100, so divide it by 100. Right, and that is equal to 0.0215. Well, using your multiplier, we're increasing by 2.15%. You've got to go and do 1, add that 0.0215, which is equal to 1.0215. So to do a 2.15% increase, you've got to times through by 1.0215. If you kind of wrote down 1.215, that would be a 21.5% increase. You've got to have that 0 there. Really important. And this is just showing you why. So your initial amount is £15,000 again, and you're timesing through by your multiplier, and the time is 3 years, so to the power of 3. And we put that into our calculator. Okay, so we put this here in our calculator, and we can see what we get. And it should be pretty close to that number there. Like if you got an answer which was crazily away from that number, usually when you compare stuff in the exam questions, they're quite close. So it should be reasonably close. Times 1.0215 to the power of 3. Yeah, and there we go. Right, we're getting, check I've typed it incorrectly, 1.02153, good. We get a value of 15,988.4, but I'm going to keep it like that to the nearest pound. So to the nearest £1, nearest pound. There we go. So that is our amount after compound interest, which is there. There we go. So now we've just got to go compare the two. So the question is saying, which of these savings accounts should he choose if he wants to make as much money as possible? Well, he should go for. So we've got to make a statement. That's really important. So we say Jack should go for the simple interest. Okay, the simple, because we state that this is value here. So 16,035 is greater than, that means bigger than this value here, 15,988. Okay, and that is your answer, showing all of my working, making it really clear to the examiner what is going on. And I can see, right, so in this case, the simple interest is actually a better option than the compound interest. Okay, so if you want to, give this one a read and give it a go yourself. If you're not quite sure what to do, you can watch me go through it, but it is up to you, and you can skip to the end to sort of see the answer. Okay, so similar kind of question, but with a slight difference. So here are two interest rates for two banks. We've got the Northern Savings Bank, NSB, which is 2.5% compound interest, really important. And we've got the Central Alliance Bank, CAB, which is 2.7% simple interest. Right. Mir put £6,100 into each account. Calculate the difference in value between the two accounts after 8 years. So a bit different this time. It's not saying which one gets more money. It's saying, well, when you put them into both accounts, what's the difference between the two values? So let's do that. Well, let's begin with the Northern Savings Bank, okay, which is looking at compound interest. So our formula for that is going to be, again, your initial amount times by your multiplier to the power of time. Well, your initial amount, they're investing £6,400. Your multiplier, you're increasing it by 2.5%. Okay, well, again, it's going to be timesing by 1. 2.5% as a decimal is 0.025. So it's going to be times by 1.025. Okay, if that bit is confusing you, go back a few videos where we look at percentage increase using multipliers. Okay, 2.5% as a decimal is 0.025. Add it onto the 1 because you're increasing it. And the time is after 8 years, so to the power of 8. And let's go and see what that is equal to. So type in our calculator and you should get a value of 7,797. I'm going to use a couple of decimal places here because money really, right, is 0.78. So money should really go to the nearest pence. Okay, so that's 0.78p. Okay, rounded upwards, which is fine, right? So that's my first value for NSB. So nice and hopefully straightforward. If we've been looking at the videos on compound interest, there we go. There's that value. And then similarly, right, let's go and now compare it to the Central Alliance Bank. So let's go and compare it to the CAB Bank, which is simple interest. So to begin with, right, I want to find 2.7% of my amount. Okay, so I want to find 2.7% of the amount, which is £6,400. And again, right, 2.7% as a decimal is 0.027. Okay, 0.27 would be 27%. So 0.027, remember percent divided by 100 of, I'm going to times it by the amount, so 6,400. Right, and that will give me the interest after 1 year. So 0.027 timesing it by 6,400, which is equal to £172.8. Okay, and again, right, that is the interest we're going to get after 1 year. With simple interest, you just times that value by how many years you got, which is 8 years. So I'm going to go and do 8 times that value, which is 172.8, which is equal to 1,382.4. 0.4. So that is the interest that I get after 8 years, but I really want to see how much I get in total, so I'm going to go and add on that starting amount, which is £6,400, and I add it on my interest that I get, which is 1382.4. Let's add that on, and we get a value of 7782.4. Okay, so that is my second value, and let's read the question really carefully again. The question is saying, what is the difference between the two values? So I'll just go and subtract the bigger one, sorry, the smaller one from the bigger one. So the bigger one, 7797, is this one here. So to find the difference, right, I just go and do a bigger one, so 7797.78, and I take away the smaller one, which is 7782.4. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 7797.78, take away the other one, which gives me a value of £15.38. So right, that's the answer to the question. That is my answer. So it's just, just interpreting the question, right? There is not much difference at all between, in this case, compound interest and simple interest when you invest that £6,400. Right? Obviously, there are slightly different rates. The simple interest is a little bit higher, okay, but over the 8 years, really, there's only £15.38 difference between the two accounts in this saving. And the question does say, right, give it to the nearest penny, right, which I've done, okay, because I've rounded to 0.38. That is my nearest penny, so that is absolutely fine. Okay, so that's the end of our videos on compound and simple interest. Hopefully that was useful, and you can always rewind if you want to look at anything again, but that is that. Thank you.